Hi there, my name is Pat Fader and I will be your instructor for ITNET 112 this semester. Thanks for taking time to watch the screencast. Hopefully it'll be worth your time. Basically what I want to do is run through what the course requirements are this semester and the tools that you'll be using and what the expectations are for you. So real quick before we get started, just a bit about myself. I've been teaching at MATC for about 20 years. Time flies and you're having fun. I absolutely love it, actually. Teaching primarily in our IT network specialist program, although I have taught some courses out of support as well as development programs as well. Prior to teaching at MATC, I taught up in Eau Claire for a few years. I actually started their Cisco Academy. At MATC, I've helped roll out a bunch of new classes, and along the way I've picked up a number of certifications like the CCNA, VCP, Microsoft Certified Systems Engineer, and CompTIA certification. So I do think highly of certifications, and I'll talk a bit about that in the screencast. But before teaching, I worked as an electrical computer engineer. I designed hardware and software. I designed video cards for a while, and I kind of chuckle. I think my video cards, they were for medical equipment, and they typically, just the component cost was like 20 grand or 10 to 20 grand. So hospitals were probably paying 50 for them, and I'm pretty sure that a something like a Raspberry Pi, which costs $35 for an entire computer and a video component on it, has about the same video capabilities that my cards did back 20 years ago. Now, obviously, technology's changed, but that's just kind of makes me chuckle at times. Anyways, if you ever stop by, I'm glad to talk to you more about what I've done and kind of what my experiences are, but for now let's just get going through the syllabus and the Blackboard site. So my plan is I'm going to run through the Blackboard site that I've created for the course as well as the syllabus. If I mess up, I'm going to keep going, and this is really the same content that I would do in the first day of a face-to-face class. So let's get started. Pretty much you can see that we'll be using a product from TestOut, specifically their install and storage product. It has great content. It covers mostly Server 2016 with some Server 2012 content. I do have instructions here on how to purchase it from the publisher, which is, I think, the best way to go. It's a web-based product. So basically, when you go to the bookstore, all that you're getting is a product code. So let's just take a look at let's look at the instructions real quick and let's see if I can buy one, or at least see what it looks like. So we need the price code here. Copy it. We'll go to Test Out, Courses, Course Catalog, and Install and Storage. Here it is. I want to look a little bit about what the certifications that align with this as well. I'm going to pause it right now. It looks like our internet's a bit slow. Alright. Put the product code in. And there it is. It's $100. So that's it. I'm guessing that you've probably used TestOut products in other classes prior to getting to Server 1. Incidentally, my assumption is that students have had ITNET 110. That's our client course prior to taking our server class. If you are one of the few students that tries taking ITNET 110 and 112 concurrently, it's possible. It's just going to be a lot more work on the front end for you. So I don't want to tell you to drop the class, but I will say that it's going to be a lot more challenging than if you have, as opposed to having taking ITNET 110 first. All right, that takes care of the announcements in Blackboard. I only have one. It's pretty quick. So now we'll jump to the syllabus. And again, I'm going to post something every week in our Blackboard site, pretty much saying like where you should be in the class and what your assignments are for the week. So check the announcements. I'll also set it up so the announcements get emailed out to you. It's an online class. You really need to make sure that you're checking at least once a week into our site to see what's going on there. So that would apply to all your classes. Let's jump to the syllabus. If I run through the syllabus, I'll pretty much cover everything that I want to cover right now. So office hours. Tuesdays, 9:30 to 1, I will be at our West Campus. I teach a PowerShell class on Tuesdays here, so that starts at 1, so I thought, well, I would just sit before class and answer questions. I'll do some prepping, and then if students come in, I can help you with our class here. And then Thursdays, Milwaukee campus from 11 a.m. to 1 o'clock in room 408. So that's it. I'm not 100% sure about the tutor yet. We had one last semester. I emailed him, and you'll have to just check back to my site here to see if he will be available or not to assist with you and your classes. This is worth looking at here. We have, I'll talk a bit about our academic support centers and how to get our virtual machines that we will be using throughout the class. First things first, virtual machines, how to get the virtual machines. All this is really telling you is that assuming that you found, I think I have a different document that has the locations of our academic support. Oh, it's right here. All right, so we have an academic support center on each one of our 4 campuses, and anywhere from 2 to a half dozen computers at a campus that are set up specifically for IT students. They have a little bit more RAM than the traditional machine would have in the academic support center, and they also are preloaded with our virtual machines. So this part of the document just kind of tells you where to find the computers in each of the academic support centers, and the top part basically says, hey, go to the D drive, and you will see a folder on there called ITNET 1 Images. So for our class, ITNET 112, just grab the whole folder and copy it to your drive. Let's see here. Let me get out of here. There we go. Make sure that the drive that you bring in is configured either formatted as exFAT or NTFS, which most drives are nowadays. And you're going to need at least 40 gigabytes of free space, at least. That's it. So also allow yourself, about an hour. It should only take a half an hour, but give yourself an hour to copy the VMs to your USB drive. It's also worth mentioning that if you have any other IT courses on any of our campuses, if you just check the D drive on those machines, odds are that you're going to find our virtual machines for ITNET 112. All right, so that takes care of the virtual machine piece of it. And that's my phone. Let me turn that off. There we go. I have an office hours here. How to get started with the virtual machines in our academic support centers. This document just basically runs you through how to start up a virtual machine. I have other screencasts on this as well, but if you need a little bit extra help, this will run through logging in, finding the virtual machines. I think this screencast is going. These shots are going for ITNET 110. Here's some ITNET 112 ones, and probably the biggest thing to remember is when you sit down at a computer and start working at a lab for one of our classes, make sure that before you start, you reset all of the virtual machines to the snapshot that the lab is telling you to do. So most of our labs have you go to OU's created in ITNET 112. So basically, you take all your VMs, you move them to that snapshot, and then you start the activity. Basically, what is a snapshot? It is a point. It captures the state of a virtual machine at a point in time. So it's like a time machine, right? So we went through, we configured Active Directory on our servers, we set up some organizational units, and then we took a snapshot. If a student goes back to that snapshot, pretty much any other changes that other students have made will be eliminated, erased, undone. So it allows you to start from a known point, a known starting point. All right, onward, forward. Let's see here. You've got my email address, phone number. I guess basically my office has changed a little bit. Room 200 West on Tuesdays. Okay. What are we going to cover? This class covers a ton of content, and you can see from this list here that we're that's pretty varied topics. What I want to mention here is that the actual test out product that we're using this semester is 15 chapters long, and we're covering 10 of them. Test out thought they were doing us a favor by just packing a ton of stuff into a single product, but it's absolutely too much content to cover in a single 3-credit course. I almost feel like we could have taken a single test out product and maybe made it 2 courses. It would have been a little bit light. So We identified 10 of the most important chapters, and that's what we're covering in this course. The course outcome summary, basically, what are we looking at covering this semester? I just linked that to the exam objectives that are associated with the certification that goes with this class here. And you can see from this, everything from managing backups, IP configuration, DNS, DHCP, managing servers, virtualization, high availability, Active Directory, group policies. I mean, that is a ton of content. So that's what you're going to be learning about this semester. Getting started with the class, I mean, I'm assuming that you've kind of seen this or you know what you're doing because you're watching the screencast, but I always have students first go into Blackboard, read all the announcements, and then complete assignment number 1, which we're going to take a look at. And part of assignment number 1 has them looking at the syllabus, but we're going to do that right now, and then we'll jump back to assignment 1. All right. This is probably the most important part of the syllabus, the class calendar, and it lays out what you should be working on every week of the semester in our class. So the first week of class starts on January 27th. So the first week you should be doing what? Well, you should be covering chapters 1 and 2 out of your test out products. So I feel like I'm kind of hitting the ground running with you guys on this one, but you're going to complete chapters 1 and 2 out of test out, and then I have several assignments for you to do. So let's look at the test out chapters first, and let's look at these assignments second. Test out. Log in. Sign in. All right, so install and storage. I feel like a lot of you, this is going to be like, this will be old news because you have used Test-Out like in our Network Plus class or our Windows 10 class. But quick summary, like I mentioned, there's 15 chapters in this product, this install and storage product. The first week you're going to cover chapters 1 and 2, and there's 4 components to Test-Out's products. You're going to find videos. Again, this doesn't impact your grade, but my thought is that you're going to watch the video.
In this lesson, we're going to review the
You'll get sick of hearing that guy talk, I suppose. There are facts, and the content and the fact sheets goes into greater depth than what you're going to find in the video, so it's important that you read over the fact sheets as well. There are practice questions. This does impact your grade. I look at the scores and all of your practice questions or quizzes throughout the semester, and I look at just your raw score. So if you get a 50%, that what goes in the grade book. There is a practice question or quiz, we'll call it a quiz from this point on. There's a quiz for every section in your test out product. Section 1.1 has a quiz, 1.2 has a quiz, 1.3 has a quiz. So you'll need to take all of those. All right. They're pretty basic. I do like the fact that you can take them over and over again, so there's no reason that you shouldn't get 100 in every one of these. And then last but not least, the simulations. These simulations are fantastic because it basically allows you to get some experience with using the Server 2016 or Server 2012 operating systems without having to go through the headache of setting one up. So this is pretty much like a known environment. It's not an actual server. It's it's a simulation, but Test-Out's done a pretty good job with it. And this is the second element from the product that's going to impact your final grades in our class. The first one being the quizzes, the second one being all of the simulations throughout the semester. So you're going to do a whole bunch of simulations. All right, so we have covered this part of the syllabus here. So the first week you're going to go through chapters 1 and 2, take all the quizzes, do all the simulations, and then on top of that you are going to do these 3 items. Complete assignment 1. I guess I'm repeating myself here, right? Chapters 1 and 2, and then make a copy of the ITNET 112 lab screenshot document, which is a part of assignment 1. So let's just jump to assignment number 1. See, unlike a face-to-face class, you can just put me in double speed, right, to play through this video to pick things up if you're getting bored. But assignment number 1 is a checklist. It's a big to-do list of things to do to get you ready for our class. Read the syllabus. So think of this as if you're kind of like I'm a list person. I love making lists. And I even like typically writing them on pieces of paper, believe it or not, so I can have the pleasure of crossing them out when I'm done. So read the syllabus, watch the orientation screencast, what you're doing right now. I have a bit of information on the VMware academic program. This is necessary because you're going to, well, you should have an account from your previous classes. If not, we do create user accounts around January 27th. And this will allow you to log in and get a copy of VMware Workstation or VMware Fusion. It's worth me just jumping there and looking at it real quick. And I have other screencasts on this as well, but let's just go to Student Software, VMware Academic Program. All right, I'll log in. So obviously, if you think you have an account, just put your MATC email address in here and hit forgot username or password and see if that lets you get in if you can't get in. What do we have here? There we go. All I wanted to show you is this, that if you're using a Mac, you're going to want to get VMware Fusion. That's what I'm operating on right now. Or if you're on a Windows-based computer, you'll want to get VMware Workstation. Not Player, but Workstation. And once you install it, it's good for 2 years. If you've been at MATC for longer than 2 years, you can always come back here again and get a new product key, just to basically reactivate your Workstation or Fusion product. And I would say get the latest and greatest. I always have students ask, should I patch? Should I get 14 or 15? Get the latest one, 15. And they're always backward compatible. What happens is, for example, if I created a bunch of VMs on VMware Workstation 15, and if you had Workstation 14 at home, you would not be able to open my VMs. Basically saying, hey, there's a newer, you need to use a later product to open it. So, but if I made a bunch of VMs in Workstation 14, and you have 15 at home, no problem. You can open all my virtual machines. So that covers that really covers VMware academic program. The Microsoft one is this allows you to get just Microsoft operating systems for free. They're fully functional, and you can use it for getting your Windows 10. If you want to get a copy of Server, you can get it off here as well. So I'll let you look at that on your own. Back to assignment number 1. I've got a screencast, just kind of just reinforces how to use VMware Workstation. I have a couple screencasts, I guess. I have you watching a screencast on the Microsoft Imagine site and its resources. We talk about test out. This is important here. You will need to, if you haven't done so, create a user account in test out. I love it when you can use your full name when you create the user account. It helps me identify who you are when I'm trying to figure out who's who in test out. And I will have you basically join the Milwaukee Area Technical College campus in test out, as well as enroll in ITNET 112-900 in test out. So why would you do this? This way I can track your progress, and this way I can update the gradebook showing that you're getting your work done. If you skip this item, step 6, I have to assume that you're not doing anything in the class, and that results in a lot of zeros in the gradebook. So once you've done these items here, you jump to step 7. More questions, and eventually you're going to post your response to all these questions in Blackboard. Your name, your degree. If you're looking for a partner, I just put this in there. So if you just kind of scroll through other people's postings, if someone else is looking for a partner, place to work, just hey, do you want to meet at the West Campus on Tuesdays, and we'll work in one of the academic support centers, and if we have a problem, we'll come find Fader, who's hiding out in room 200, to get help on something. So just a thought. Our class does map to 2 certifications. It maps to Microsoft's Install Storage and Compute, and it also, I guess I didn't put it in here, it also actually maps to the Test Out certification as well. Obviously, which one's better? Microsoft is more recognized, but the Test Out certification is just, you get that for free. You get one free test. So it's something I would consider for all your Test Out courses, actually, and one more thing to put on your resume. As I mentioned in my intro, I have taken a number of Microsoft exams. I mean, probably 8-9 exams over the years. they're not bad. It's just typically once you go through a product like this with test out, I'd spend a bunch of time online and spend more time just kind of reviewing the material, and you should be good to go. I know when I took my tests, I typically would use some product to prepare for the exam, and then I would go online and just kind of look for people's comments on the test or suggestions of what's important, and I would use that, and with a pretty high success rate. Okay, step 7. I haven't even talked about it yet, but you actually are going to do some labs on top of the test out product. So the labs you are going to do on the virtual machines that you're going to set up early on in the semester. But let's at least see what step 7 is. Make a copy of the ITNET Lab 112 screenshot document, share it with Fader, and submit a link to it in this Google form. So I can do those steps real quick. So what is this document? At MATC, myself and a few other instructors, we created a bunch of labs for you, just for you. Here are the labs that we wrote, and our thought is that you are going to go through and do these. Well, our thought is you are going to go through and do these labs. I love test out, but there is something different between a simulation and doing it on an actual virtual machine. So these activities were written to reinforce what you're covering and what you've learned in test out. Let's just pick the group policy one, part 1. Oop, a little bit off here. There we go. Part 1, 2, 3. Let me just jump down to part 1. So I have you. I'll open the lab up. I have a lab written. Group policy looks like it is 10 more, 11, 12, 15, 14 pages, 17. It keeps going. My goodness. 26 pages. I mean, a lot of it's screenshots. But let's look at the beginning. What are you going to do? You're going to need 2 virtual machines, server 1 and Windows 10 client, which again, you'll get these as you'll get these machines as part of doing assignment number 2 this semester. You're going to set both machines to a snapshot, the OU's created snapshot, and then you're going to run through this activity here and just do what it says, and hopefully this is going to reinforce what you're learning. As you go through the lab, I have you along the way just taking a few screenshots and pasting them in here just to show me that you've done it. So in tasks 6, 8, and 9, at a certain step, I just have you taking a screenshot showing me that you did it. So task 6, step 5, post a screenshot showing the control panel is not accessible. So we do something with the group policy to lock your user out from accessing the control panel. So you do that, you post a screenshot, and you're good to go. Hopefully that makes sense. So this is a lot of work, but I do think it's worth it because it's very practical. I mean, you're working with actual servers, and you are running through tasks that we think are fairly important, and that's something that you would most likely see or do on the job, working as a network administrator. So with that said, what you need to do is click on the link, make a copy of it. You can name it like, Pat Fader's ITNET 112. So I've now made a copy of this document. Done. Good. Now that it's your copy, now that you own the document, you made a copy of it, you can do what it says. Pretty much wherever there's yellow, you're supposed to do something. Here, this is Pat Fader. I can't spell my name. There we go. Fader P at matc.edu. All right. I'm ready to get to work. I'm going to share this. I don't know if I can necessarily share it back with myself, but I would share it with. I'll share it with my personal account. All right. So I've shared it. And I need a link to this document as well. Let me hit the share button again. And then get a shareable link. This will work. The link's been copied to the clipboard. Good. Okay, so far I've shared the document. I've renamed the document. And now I have to give it to my instructor so that he can grade this document throughout the semester. So if we go back to assignment number 1, I've done this bullet. I've renamed it. I've shared the document. I've added my name to the page 1 of the document while I was on fire, right? And then finally, I'm just going to click on this link here. Put my email address in. You're going to have to be logged in to your GMATC account when you do this. I think I have this form only accessible to MATC students. All right, here. Pat Fader. Add a link to your screenshot document. There it is. And I need to update this, don't I? I'm an IT. I'll have to change this. I'm an IT. It'll say ITNET 112-900, and then submit. Done. So what did this do? This creates a spreadsheet for me with your name, your email address, and a link to your document so that I can view it throughout the semester. Good. Just make a note to myself to update that form. All right. Okay, you will be completing assignment number 2 in a few weeks. Check it out. We can do that real quick. And then when you're all done, you post responses to all these questions and you submit them in Blackboard and you get 100 points. So before we jump into assignment number 2, let me just go back to the syllabus and see if there's anything else I want to talk about with you. Lots of open windows, right? Yeah. So I will go back to assignment 2 briefly, but you kind of see what we have laid out each week. Once we get to assignment 3, you actually have 2 weeks to work on chapter 5, how to test out. It looks like we skipped chapter 4. You do 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5. I have you complete the lab setup assignment. And that's it. Here, let's go to week 4, more exciting. So you continue to work on server storage. Your chapter 5 from test out should be completed by February 25th. And I also have you doing these 2 labs, the server core install and remote management. So if I go back to my lab screenshot document, which I closed, but anyways, server core install and server remote management, that's server core install, server remote management, those are the 2 labs that you're working on. So you would do the labs and add the appropriate screenshots to your lab screenshot document. It looks like I even have you posting screenshots showing me that you did the lab setup assignment. Very thorough instructor. Yeah. And the syllabus even says, I think I put in there more than I had to, but make sure that you add screenshots to your copy of the ITNET 112 lab screenshot document. So by you adding them to your document is how I can verify that you've completed the activity. All right, and there is a final exam. I have it currently in test out. I'm probably going to modify it. Last semester when I taught the class, I allowed people to take it 1 time. I'm going to change that and allow students to take it twice. So, as far as the breakdown in grades go, assignment 1, which you're working on now, is worth 5%. Assignment 2, that's the lab setup assignment, 5%. Your lab screenshot document is 10%. So it's not really, it's probably, I should change it, but I'll just go with it for now this semester. But doing all those labs, is worth 10% of your grade, so 1 letter grade. It should probably be like 30% of your grade, but it's, you know what, I've already hit the record button, we'll leave it at 10%. This is a really important activity, whether you're getting graded on it or not. My hope is that you'll do the whole thing. Well, one, now it's part of your grade, it's 10%, but I think a lot of learning is going to happen by doing those activities. And as far as the lab sim goes, there we go, lab sim chapters. There they are. So you're working on 10 chapters this semester in the class, listed out there. And finally, the final exam. And that's worth 10% of your grade as well. So pretty much, it's interesting. I mean, if you just did the lab sim and did it perfectly, got 70%, and if you did assignments 1 and 2 perfectly, you're already at 80% for the semester, which would be a B. I kind of do my breakdowns: 90, 80, 70, 60. So that's where we're at. Course objectives, this is what we want to cover. I think we already talked about that. This does not match up at all with what we just said. There, now it does. Okay. And the rest of the syllabus is important. I'd like you to read it, but I always tell students, I mean, there's this pretty, to me, when I think about the content here, it's basically how would I want somebody to treat my kids if they were in college. So if they're in college, how would I expect my kids to interact with their instructors, and how would I expect the instructors to interact with my children. So basically, from the instructor's perspective, I would expect that when a student emails an instructor, that she would respond within 24 hours, and that's what I will do for our class. Now, obviously, I will admit, if you email me on a Friday afternoon, odds are it's going to be Monday morning before you get the response. Normally, Saturdays and Sundays, I don't do a lot related to work. I try to get it all done Monday through Friday, but otherwise, so basically business days, one business day, 24 business hours to get a response from me. So something, I would expect that. I would expect an instructor to treat my son and daughter with respect and be helpful, courteous, etc. And that's a commitment I'm making to you as well, that I will do the best job I can to teach you the content and to get you through the class. From the student, from my kids, I'd expect them to, when they contact an instructor, to use an email that is complete and thorough. I'd expect them to be courteous and kind of basically reflect the same characteristics that we just talked about. So that's a lot of what's in the content below here. You do have the opportunity to appeal grades if you disagree with a final grade for the semester. You also have the ability to complain about me to my manager and the higher ups, and that's fine. I would hope, and we've got the steps laid out here. Pretty much what happens is if there's a problem in the class, talk to me first and see if we can resolve it. I've never had anything go beyond step one, but there are additional steps if necessary. The next step would be, if you can't get resolution, go talk to my associate dean. His name is Dr. City, and you talk to him. When you talk to him, the first thing he's going to say is, "Well, did you do step one? Did you talk to Pat?" But then, again, you go to Dr. City. If that doesn't work, you can go to the dean of the school of business, and if that doesn't work, you can go to the office of student life. So you definitely do have the ability to seek resolution to disagreements in the course or how something is being done for all of your classes at MATC, not just mine. So that's that. There is information here. There's content like the policy and incompletes, instructor initiated withdrawals, things like if you don't participate in the class during the first 2 weeks of the semester, MATC is expecting me to drop you from the class. That's just MATC's policy. That's it for now. I'll let you kind of read through the rest on your own. We are almost done, so thank you for spending the last 33 minutes listening to me talk. I think the last thing I want to talk about is that assignment number 2. This is kind of cool. Just for fun sometime, check out remotedesktop.google.com. It essentially lets you set up a client that you can remote into all your various devices. It's platform independent too. So I'm currently remoting into my Windows computer at the Milwaukee campus. I'm working here at the West campus this morning, but it's kind of nice. I mean, I can, you can do things like launch applications, whatever it is you're remoting in. I really like it. I use it for managing all kinds of computers, like my mom's. Let's see here. All right. Assignment number 2, and then we're done. This is the lab setup assignment. You're going to do this, a few weeks into the semester. It's in the syllabus. And it has you. The goal is to have 3 working virtual machines by the time you're done with this, and you have to use my VMs. You can't create your own for this. So you're first going to have VMware Workstation installed. I have a screencast you can watch on that. You need to get a copy of our virtual machines. So I have information on how to do that in this obtaining the virtual machine document here. Essentially, the easiest thing I think is to stop by one of our academic support centers, or an IT, or when you're in, or when you're, or I can't talk, or when you're in one of our other IT courses, just copy them off the hard drive. But if that's not an option, you can download them as well. So this document walks through how to download them. I will say that, well, there's something that's worth mentioning here. The files are huge. You're downloading like 3 or 4 10 gigabyte, 8 gigabyte files. So when you do that, it's going to take a while, and if there's any corruption along the way, you'll have to redo them all over again. So you download the 3 parts, you open the first one up, and you get to install a program called 7-Zip to basically unzip these files and kind of combine them all together. The initial zip file was like 35 gigabytes, so we broke that up into 3 chunks. And then so 7-Zip can reassemble the zip file and then unzip them all. And let's see here. This kind of shows it. So look at what I was going to point out is, if you're having problems with the download, you can add VMs to your own Google Drive account, then use the desktop client to download them. So that's another option, is you can read up on that a bit, but basically there's a client you can use to hopefully have higher success in downloading your VMs. I typically haven't had a problem doing this when I'm on an MATC campus. I've tried it at home and I've got it to work, but it took like all night because my internet connection isn't crazy fast like it is here at MATC. Back to the lab setup, so you get the VMs, and then the rest of the activity is pretty basic. I just have you setting the machines to a snapshot, which we talked about earlier, logging into them, powering them on, Yahoo, right? And then basically just pinging them, just testing network connectivity. The idea is, by the time you've completed this activity, I know that you have a working set of our virtual machines, and I know that you know how to use snapshots and basically interact with them. So I hope this screencast was helpful. I'm looking forward to a great semester with you, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. Thanks again, and have a great day.